We take our members to prison. You want a perspective shift. If you think your life sucks, go spend half a day in a prison. They'll snap you out of it.
Mr. Joe Polish, the founder and leader of Genius Network.
If you think I could only get paid if I create a result in advance, how would that change your business? People talk about be a thought leader. I mean, any idiot could come up with a thought. Many of the thought leaders just steal other people's thoughts. They don't even give them credit. Be a result leader, not a thought leader.
So I'm here now with a very good friend of mine I've known now for quite a few years, even had dinner at my house, Mr. Joe Polish,
Yes.
the founder and leader of Genius Network, an incredible group that's, I mean, pretty much world known. I feel like at this point, so many people have gone through this program with you and are still very much involved with it. And I'm honored to have you on the show to learn, number one, marketing from you, because you're very well known for your abilities in marketing, your experience, things you've done. But also, I think when I bump into people and talk about Joe, it's like he's kind of like the most connected guy I know. The guy I feel like he knows everyone, or he's like one person away from knowing the person that you probably want to meet. So Joe, welcome to the GSD Show.
Thank you, Mike. It's really funny when people say, because I don't often think of myself, I don't call myself a connector, even though, everyone kind of says that about me. I guess what it depends on is who are you connecting and what's the purpose behind it and why are you doing it and what's the motivation and the agenda and stuff. And part of it is I just get a real joy, I guess. And also I feel that if you know a solution or a person to help someone get to where it is they're trying to go, why would you keep that to yourself?
Yeah.
It's not like fine china, you don't run out of it.
Well, I think what's special about you is not necessarily that you don't keep it to yourself. I think it's you think of it. It's like it's an instinct for you. I've been in rooms with you where I've seen you do it, where you'll be like, oh yeah, I know someone. Actually, here, hold on. Hey, and you'll take out your phone and you'll do it right there.
Yeah.
Whereas, I just had lunch with someone who I have a great relationship with, and I know he's got my best interests, and I think he already made the connection via text. But it was like an hour and a half after I made the ask for the intro, and I made the ask for the intro, right? Now, that's great. To most people's standards, hey, what a great guy, followed through, all great. The difference is with you can't wait. Like you're so excited to do it. You just take out your phone, make the video, go the extra mile. There's just this thing that I could tell you get so much more energy from that than the average person.
Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe it doesn't occur to people because I'm thinking about that. And for me, if I don't act immediately, I will probably forget to do it.
Okay, that's fair too.
I mean, my whole thing is give value on the spot.
Yeah.
And try to be as close to in-person as possible, especially if you're not in person. That's where audio and video comes in, and now Zoom and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, this is kind of it all came from insecurity as a kid and not having a lot of friends and moving a lot that caused me to have this, I guess, need to constantly connect.
And now you have a friend for any situation you find yourself in.
For the most part, yeah, probably more than I need at this point.
Yeah. So really quick, I want to ask about Genius Network. So everybody that may be watching it is maybe they heard of it. I'm really sure. What is Genius Network? And then I also want to understand not only these two books, but I mean you've written quite a few books. So, but we'll start with these two here. So Genius Network, let's go there.
Well, Genius Network I started in 2007. I started my first coaching group in 1998. So I've been in the marketing business, if you want to call it that, since 1994, at the end of 1990. So I've been doing this for a long ass time.
Yeah.
And I started as a carpet cleaner, and I learned marketing, never thinking I'd write books or do events or have groups or any of that stuff. It was just a way to learn a skill that I needed to survive in business. And I really liked the aspect of you can change a headline, because back then there was no internet. I didn't have my first website till 1996. And even then there was...
Even having a website in 96, by the way, is like leading. That wasn't a normal thing.
It was, and I mean, if people go to the Wayback Machine and look at my first website with Piranha Marketing, I had this we had clip art that had a prehistoric fish with big,
oh my God,
teeth, which did not look like a piranha, but we had a piranha body with this big, and it was Piranha Marketing. I actually like that old logo, and it cost nothing. I just put together two things. Now with AI, you can create, move, whatever. But so I started Genius Network out. Do you know Robin Robbins, who's the marketing? She's built one of the best coaching groups of any information marketer in a niche that I've ever seen.
What's her name?
Robin Robbins. Technology marketing toolkit, and she's just great. And I've known her since the 90s, and she had hired me for consulting in 2006. And I was running a group called Platinum Plus, for people in service businesses, and it was a $10,000 a year group or $1,000 a month if they paid monthly. So Robin Robbins had hired me for consulting for 2 hours, and back then I was charging $3,000 an hour, minimum blocks of 2 hours. And so I called it an opportunity realization roadmap. So I had 25 questions that people would have to fill out in advance, and then we'd spend a couple of hours, talking about it. And so at the end of the 2 hours, she said, why don't you start a group for info marketers? Because, people refer to them as info marketers. They still do, but back then it was a term that was used more frequently for people that sold how-to stuff. And I said, well, it's not like I haven't thought about it, but you got to deliver it. You got to market it. I said, however, if I did start a group like that just for info marketers, what do you recommend I charge for? And she goes, well, hell, I just paid you $6,000 for 2 hours and I got tons of value out of this. She said, I'd easily pay $25,000 a year. And so I repeated it back to her. So if I did a group like this, you'd pay $25,000 a year. She said, yeah, and I would refer other people to the group. So I thought about it for like a month. I sent out some messages to all these people. I would like John Carlton and Brian Tracy and, Bill Phillips, Body for Life author. And I would always bring groups together with Gary Halbert, like these old school marketers, but there was never any organization to it. And so when she planted that seed, I thought, I'm going to start a group with 20 people, $25,000 a person. That would be $500,000. And I'm going to do it, 4 times a year, one day at a time, 4 times a year. And that was the idea, but let's see if anyone would pay for this. And so I went out to everyone that I would normally invite to Arizona that was a colleague or a friend of mine in the marketing space that I liked, and said, if I had to spend, 4 days a year, who would I want to do it with? And would they contribute to this so I could bring organization around it? Every single person that I reached out to, every one of them said yes. So I called Robin and said, yeah, I'm going to start this group. And she overnighted me a check for $25,000. And she was the reason I went from, doing these, regular marketing groups called Platinum Plus. But also, I taught her how to do the contest model, which I had done with Bill Phillips, the Body for Life author, because we did huge contests.
What's the contest model?
Well, so Bill Phillips in the 90s, the top fitness book in the world was Body for Life.
I do remember Body for Life. Actually, I think I own Body for Life.
Yeah. And he put over 1 million people into a physique transformation contest, which was originally the EAS contest, which Experimental and Applied Sciences, which is a company that he bought from a guy named Anthony Almada. And they're the first ones to roll out creatine. And he had supplements, Myoplex, Betagen, stuff like that. And he had hired me for consulting in 1995. I met him at a big conference he was doing. He had a magazine called Muscle Media. And during, our consulting, he had put together a movie called Body of Work. And it was a documentary about this contest that he had done, where he was, at the time, the number one prize in fitness was $100,000 for Mr. or Miss Olympia. And he decided he would give away I think it was a $220,000 car at the time, because you were talking back in the 90s. So he decided that everyday people could have an opportunity to win a car that's worth twice as much as the highest financial prize of the top category in the world of bodybuilding. So he just wanted to leapfrog and do something completely radical. And so that was my first sort of, and then during that, he did a movie called Body of Work, and I helped him with a ton of stuff. But using predominantly my marketing strategies that I was teaching and using for carpet and upholstery cleaners and service businesses, I had recently done an interview with his copywriter who I originally learned marketing from, which was Gary Halbert. And Gary had become a dear friend of mine, and we had sent out a letter to carpet cleaners to say, I did this great interview with Gary Halbert. I'd love to send it to you for free, but I'm afraid if I send it to you for free, you're not going to place value on it. So if you send me a check for $20, then we'll mail it to you. Or if you want to pay via credit card, $21, so we can have an extra $1 to pay for some of the merchant fees, and I'll send you this cassette tape. It was literally a cassette tape. It was all direct mail back then. And I raised I think it was $7,000 approximately off a list of only 1,200 people. And then when Bill had hired me for one of the consulting days, he had said, I have this movie, body of work. I spent $1 million putting it together. You can do this stuff now on an iPhone. But back then, film crews, it cost a fortune. And he's like, and I want to share it with people. I need a way to distribute it because it really positions, these physique transformation contests. And, what I want to do is sell EAS, but I don't want it to be a sales pitch. I want it to be very, well done. And so I said, I just did this campaign for the Phoenix Children's Hospital, is where we raised $7,000 for them. I said, people of America have an affinity with children's charities. So if you want to distribute the movie, you could send it out to people and say, if you love it, either make a donation to the Denver Children's Hospital, which is because he lived in, Denver, Colorado area, or the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And he had previously done stuff with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, so he decided, let's raise money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. He ran a full-page ad in his magazine, which was called Muscle Media, and said, I want to raise $100,000 for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. If I'll send you this movie. If you like it, just make a donation. There will be a self-addressed envelope inside. Literally within probably 2 weeks of that magazine going out, he had raised the $100,000. Then it became, $200,000. Then it became 300. And now he became the single largest individual contributor in the history of the world to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And so that ended up leading to him getting an offer to write a book called Body for Life. And at the time, that book was the #1 selling fitness book of all time. Even the diet, like diet books and fitness books, I think other than Charles Atlas ads from years past, it was huge. I mean, it was on billboards, Sports Illustrated. He was on Montel Williams, all these different talk shows. But because he was donating money to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, it gave him a halo effect. And, his magazine used to be, he differentiated himself because he would write articles about steroids. And he would, with a caveat that all these other magazines are featuring bodybuilders, their workouts, their titles, but they leave out one very important thing, which is they're all juicing. And so we're not going to publish a magazine and try to avoid the elephant in the room. We're going to tell you the truth. And by the way, steroids are bad for you and they're illegal, but for information purposes, freedom of press, so he literally.
Which is intriguing,
yeah,
right? Because people like to know, hey, this is wrong. Like if you were to start with, hey, this is wrong, you shouldn't do it. A lot of people could probably get hurt, but it works. So let me show you what it is. Like that's kind of like, all right, I don't know if I'll do it, but you got my attention. What are we talking about?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So his magazine was 80 to 90% like hardcore bodybuilders. 10% of the readers in the beginning were women. 90% were men. So with the contest, he got offered this book deal from HarperCollins, $500,000, unheard of for a first-time author. But because he was donating money to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and it was like so impactful, they just like, yeah, this guy is definitely onto something. So the EAS Physique Transformation Contest became the Body for Life contest. And so I helped him with all that stuff. And he was predominantly using my marketing strategies. And of course, he was a great marketer himself. He was a great writer. And that company went from $60 million a year in revenue to, $200 million in revenue in the span of 18 months. He became the largest sports supplement company in the world at the time. And then in 1999, he sold it to Abbott Labs for $300 million.
So the contests and the magazine, I mean, these are things that I think they carry on principles that would still work 100 years from now, today, 100 years before. And I want to dive into the principles behind that because I think today people live a lot more in tactics and techniques and not so much in strategy and principles. Yeah. And therefore, if something doesn't work anymore, an offer for on a Facebook ad, they're like, marketing's hard now. Or if all of a sudden, like, email, the stuff that they were doing with the 9-word email isn't producing the results that it was, it's like, oh, this email's dead, right? You hear that stuff. You hear things are dead. How many things have you heard are dead now, right?
Here's what I would say, and then please continue because I kind of interrupted you. Technology is important, but psychology is infinitely more important.
It's going to be applicable 2,000 years ago, how people thought, their insecurities, the way they think about worry and change and the feelings that existed back then, envy, anger, anxiety, all those things are going to exist 1,000 years from now.
Right. Yeah.
And so really using technology as a tool to be able to trigger or initiate certain emotions that cause people to act.
Right. No, exactly. And so part of it, people actually think, and I know you probably are very much in the same line of thinking. So at the Worldwide Developers Conference in 1997, he said, Steve Jobs said, we focus first on the user experience, then we focus on the technology. And there's so many marketers running around, think it's an ad, think it's a sales letter. How did you market Genius Network? You know, because people cannot understand what it is I do from the outside if they're not on the inside. Because there are marketers that are 1,000 times better than me at internet marketing and building big lists and understanding CRM. Yeah, I mean, like I'm not that good at that stuff. What I am good though is I think is at least caring about people and being conscientious of the user experience, because part of the best marketing is just having a good product, having a good experience, delivering something that is like amazing that people will talk about. Because if you want word of mouth marketing, you got to give them something worth talking about. And if you're in the transaction business,
well, wait, I want to dive into what you were saying because I don't want to lose that thought. And I know guys like you and I with our brain, we will lose thoughts easily. So you were talking about the product and the experience and really getting that right. Because if you get that right, that's where you have people talking about you. I know you know High Level by now, right? The company Go High Level.
Oh yeah, Sean, the founder. I just interviewed him 2 weeks ago at my 100K group.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, Sean's a friend of mine. Alex, funny thing, Alex, one of the co-founders or co-owners, I don't know if he was co-founder or co-owner.
Yeah, they all refer to each other as co-founders. Yeah.
Co-founders, okay. Yeah. So years ago, like probably 10 years ago or 9 years ago, I hired Alex for like $250 to help build a spreadsheet for me. He was in a coaching program I was a part of, so I just went into the network. And then then he messages me like maybe a year later, hey, we're starting this new SaaS company. Want to know if you wanted to get involved in it. It's a CRM. And I was already so into, I think it was an Infusionsoft at the time, which now is Keep.
Yeah.
And so I didn't do it. And then a few years later, everybody started pushing me towards like High Level, Go High Level. And then I look and it's Alex. And Alex had me come out and do some stuff. I'm actually speaking at their event next week in Dallas.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And, you know, the reason I brought up the Go High Level too is a couple years ago, I actually went down to their event because I was actually going to be in, I think it was in Dallas again. I was going to be there anyway for a meeting with a franchise. And while I was down there, I saw the CMO standing in the hall. And I knew at the time that was the CMO. So I went to go talk to him. And I was there with my director of marketing at the time. So for her, I asked this question. I said, hey, as the head of marketing here, where do you spend the majority of your time? Like, where would you say like your focus is mostly on? It was product, like 90%, all on product.
Yeah.
I go, what do you mean? He goes, if I get the product down right, if I get the experience in the product great, everything else is easier. People will leave reviews actively. People will make YouTube videos on what we're doing and how we're doing, how to get the most out of it. People will bring referrals. They'll make people feel crazy for not being a part of it. They'll make people feel ancient for not being a part of what we're doing. So everything is around the product. Right. And so when you had said that product and the experience, because I don't know what Go High Level is valued at now, but
well, they're in the billions. They have 1,800 employees as of like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
team, you know that, and you know, I was talking to Sean, but they're definitely I don't know if it's multi-billions, but I didn't,
So what a great case study for that concept, right? Which is our company is valued now in the billions, and we spend 90% of our marketing attention on the product and the experience.
And Sean will even admit that, they let their users and their agencies that will do their marketing for them.
Yeah.
And which is great. And there's all this, I think these buzzwords are funny in business, and a lot of them come out of Silicon Valley, like pivot, which basically means, the shit we were doing before wasn't working, or monetize, which means make money. And now scaling. Scaling is a big buzzword. However, there are certain things you just don't want to scale. You don't want to scale cancer, okay? That would be a bad thing to scale. And that means if you have a company that the product sucks or it's not that great, why the hell would you want to scale that until you get the product right? Because then you develop a bad reputation. No one's going to refer you. So I think people put way too much emphasis on promoting garbage. Mm-hmm. So make sure that what you're delivering, either meets or exceeds expectations, because I have this process called the happy client experience. If you can just visualize it for anyone listening to this, every human being on the planet. How many people on the planet now? 8
I think
or
it was
9
like
billion?
7.2, but I heard
Oh,
I
7.2.
heard we're losing some population. I heard we're going backwards.
That would make sense over the last 5 years, right? So, billions of people on the planet, whatever the exact number is, and they wake up every day with expectations. Even if you're homeless, you're going to have. If your day, if you got less than what you were hoping for, and let's just make this easier. Put it in terms of someone buys something from me, or buys something from you, or buys something from anyone here that's listening to us talk right now, right? Whatever it is that they're selling, whatever product or service or experience, if they got less than what they expected, they're unhappy. If they got exactly what they expected, they're satisfied. If they got more than what they expected, then they're happy. So there's a frown, which is got less, a straight face, just like, got what I want, or they're smiling because they got more. The closest we're going to get to loyalty is to constantly create a happy client experience. And even loyalty is rare. There's very few companies like Harley Davidson where people will tattoo the name of the brand on their bodies.
Right.
But are they loyal to the brand, or are they loyal to the Harley Davidson dealership? We're here in Arizona, so you're going to go to Scottsdale, but if you don't like the way they treated you in Scottsdale, you're probably going to go to the Harley dealership in Chandler because you still want Harley. So loyalty, people are not loyal unless you are loyal to making sure that they always have a happy client experience. And when you do screw up, and anyone that's in business, I say this to young entrepreneurs all the time, like if I would have known being successful was this much work, I would have stuck with being a loser.
Yeah.
Because you have no idea the level of shit that you have to go through in order to figure things out. And right when it's working, it's the Mike Tyson thing. Everyone has a plan until I punch him in the face. Yeah. And so someone's going to, punch in the face, like someone dies, someone gets sick, something happens, someone's struggling with something. And so, in order to give yourself the stamina to work through all the stuff, you have to kind of prioritize what is important in order to make this business work. And part of that is happy clients.
Right.
How do you make a business work without unhappy clients? The only way you do it is you have a monopoly, or you live in some sort of dictatorship or some socialistic endeavor, or you just happen to be the only garbage company in town or the only electric
drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny when you say product and experience, it's easy for some people to see those as like one and the same. Well, like product is experience. So it's not. There's two different things. Like Ritz-Carlton, for example, great hotels, great rooms, great restaurants, great ambiance. I mean, it's almost perfect as far as how they thought through the details. But the experience is also there. The way you're treated, the way you're cared for, the little things. If those things weren't there, if the experience wasn't there, the way your staff treated you when you walked in the door and throughout your experience, well, it doesn't matter how good the rooms are, the restaurants, there's a missing piece.
Right.
Six Flags, great example. Great product. I mean, you got some of the best roller coasters in the world. But have you been to Six Flags recently?
I have not.
You don't want to.
Yeah.
I took my son and my daughter there because, they're old enough now. They were at the time 17 and 13. They're 18 and 14 now. And I'm like, hey, they love roller coasters. Let's go ahead and do it. Because Disney doesn't have a lot of roller coasters. They got a couple. Six Flags got some of the biggest ones. Man, we couldn't get anything to eat. We found like chips and salsa somewhere. We found like some frozen burritos they heated up. Like it was hard. The people working the whole place, they barely said hi to you. Their clothes are sloppy. We saw a rat, right? Yep. But the roller coasters were great.
Right.
But what's the story? Don't go there.
That created an expectation of like all this stuff's cool, but I want to eat something. You can't get food. Then all of a sudden they've lowered.
Dropped. Yeah. Now you take Disney on the other hand.
Yeah.
Great product, right? They're constantly making. I mean, look, if you go in, it's a small world. I mean, you're like, everything. They're thinking of everything in here. And then, have you been there recently? Star Wars? Have you been to Star Wars?
It's been a few years.
Oh my gosh, Star Wars is just unreal going through that ride. It's unreal. You're like, how much do they spend in this?
Wow. Now I actually want to go because. Do you know the Walt Disney line is? He said this years ago. He said, "I want when someone goes to Disneyland, I want the experience to be so great that when they leave, they cannot not tell somebody about it.
Yeah,
they cannot not tell someone about it.
Yeah, I have to mention it. I mean, Star Wars, like that's an example. You can't explain it. You could just say it's inexplicable. You got to go, but then the experience, the way you see them talking to your kids, just checking in. Hey, how are you doing? How's your trip? Where are you guys in from? Like stuff like that.
Right.
The food options, the way it's just so different. Now, obviously, I know there's people listening. They're like, I hate Disney. That's great. It's not for you. But for the people it's for, it matches.
Right.
So, whereas Six Flags was a ghost town, like we could get on any ride. I bought the Fast Pass not knowing I didn't need the Fast Pass.
Right.
I bought the Fast Pass, and I'm in the same line everyone else is in.
Yeah. So they did not. They did not exceed your expectations. They didn't even meet them.
No, product was great. We had a blast on every roller coaster. Every ride, we were like, man, that was amazing. That was amazing. But we're not going back. We're going to go check out maybe Hershey Park or Busch Gardens or something else where they could have easily had us come back because the roller coasters, they're just great. So
well, you're saying, okay, so here's what I think of like stuff like this. So if you go to a hotel, so you talked about Ritz-Carlton. If you go to any hotel, motel, whatever, if you think of all of the things that you are going to a hotel for one, you need to sleep.
Yeah.
So you could have all the amenities. You could have a fully filled up snack bar of a bunch of crappy food I would never eat, but people like eat that stuff. You could have television, you could have even free Wi-Fi or whatever, but if you have a spring sticking through the mattress, you kind of ruin the experience. If it's noisy, if the AC doesn't work, if the shower doesn't work.
Smells like cigarettes.
Exactly. So there's fundamental essentials that you need to have right, and then the other things are the niceties. And if you can get the essentials and the fundamentals right, then you can build out all of the other things and have a experience stack.
Right.
So everyone's like, what's the right tech stack? Well, for a shitty experience, let's get the experience stack right.
Right.
Let's figure that out first.
Well, it's standards versus selling points. And I think a lot of times people confuse it. You go to a gym, hey, so why should we go to your gym? Oh, the community, the staff, the trainers are so well trained. The workouts are great. The place is so clean. We use the best equipment. Okay. Well, let me ask you this. If any of those were missing, would you get a complaint? If the staff wasn't well trained or staff wasn't well trained, if the community wasn't great, if the equipment wasn't good, if it was a dirty gym, you'd get a complaint. So those aren't selling points. Those are standards. However, what are selling points? Yeah, everyone gets together every Friday for a hike. Just like 40, 50 people, we all go for a hike. And actually, there's a bunch of us. We go on a retreat a couple times a year. We go do like yoga in Bali. We go do yoga here. It's amazing. Okay, those are selling points now.
Right.
Because if they didn't do a retreat twice a year, I wouldn't complain on Google.
Yes.
I'd be like, I'd just be like, I'm assuming they don't do a retreat. But in this case, like really, because those are the things at the soccer game or at soccer practice, one mom's going to talk about to the other mom.
Right.
What does your gym do different? I'm not going to talk about how great the workout is. I'm not going to talk about how great the trainers are. I'm going to be like, yeah, we do this happy hour. Oh, we do a retreat. We got a retreat coming up. We're all going to Hawaii. That, because everyone wants to be interesting.
Yes.
And so when a company gives their customers interesting topics so that they can be interesting in their own setting with their own people that they're wanting to constantly one up, you're in the circles. Oh, my son, he's so good. Oh, my son does. Everyone's looking to one up. So just give them the one up buttons.
No, totally. Well, I mean, I think it comes back like the title of my book, What's in it for them?
Yeah.
If you are not thinking about what's in it for them, you miss all of this.
Yeah.
If your focus is not what's in it for them. And let me say this too, because the last thing I ever want is anyone to think that I'm somehow transcended all of this and everything's perfect.
Yeah.
The shit that we deal with as entrepreneurs between 8 to 9 a.m. in the morning after being in business for 10 or 20 years, if we would have had to deal with the same stuff when we were first starting out, with the caveat that unless you've not grown at all, if you've built you build up resilience. The treadmill of crap never stops. I did a Genius Network meeting last week. There were a couple things during the meeting, a whole conversation, because we take our members to prisons before the meetings because we want them to experience, like, one of the best ways to feel better and be more connected is to go and spend time and to encourage people that are literally incarcerated. And to see, I mean, you want a perspective shift. If you think your life sucks, go spend half a day in a prison and realize they'll snap you out of it pretty quickly.
Because the Wi-Fi was down today.
Yeah, exactly. You can't even go in with a phone, right? So and they're like, oh, are we gonna eat Mexican food today? Chinese food? Are we gonna eat paleo? Like
their Mac is Chipotle got rid of the chicken, the honey chicken. That's why they're upset. It's like, yeah, but you still have all these things you can eat. plus
Right.
the shopping center.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So we do all these things. We had this whole conversation with Andre Norman, who spent 14 years in maximum security prison. I've been working with him he's been working with me for over 8 years now with Genius Recovery, our addiction recovery stuff. And we had a whole conversation with 16 people that had gone to the prison the day before, but it went too long. Like the sharing went too long, and it made it hard for me to fit in other stuff I wanted to fit in on the first day. And it really kind of bummed me out, even though I've been doing Genius Network for 18 years. Now, I had 4 people that told me that meeting was the best meeting of their entire life. But I know there were other people that's like, well, I didn't want to talk about, going to prison, but everyone that was there was transformed. So they all wanted to share. So but the point is that, get it as good as you can. But if you're a perfectionist, though, and everything has to be perfect, that's actually more dangerous than allowing yourself to make some mistakes. You're going to have unhappy customers and clients at times. Do your best to make sure they're happy. Like if someone is truly unhappy with your services, fix it or give them their money back.
Yeah.
You know?
With the book, What's in It for Them? It's 9 genius networking principles to get what you want by helping others get what they want. And I personally have met quite a few people that have been useful to me through being in your program, and I know other people that's kind of their story as well. What's one principle that you feel like that's your favorite one?
Well, be the type of person you would always answer the phone for. That's a good one. And another one is basically treat people the way they want to be treated, not treat people the way you want to be treated.
Right? Is that
the golden rule?
Well, the golden rule is treat others the way you want to be treated. The platinum rule is treat people the way they want to be treated, right?
You know what's funny? I've never heard it called the platinum rule.
Yeah.
But yeah, like even in the chapter we have the word crossed out. Like like the type in the book is treat people the way you want to be treated. And we cross out you and we write they above it. Because it's like sometimes you have to deal with people at the level at which they respond. But be the type of person you always want to answer the phone for. And so for instance, I have a phone here, right? Whatever phone someone has. And if depending on some people are, they have their different modalities. They talk on the phone, although most people don't talk on the phone. They text or they use social media. So however you're getting messages, I will say to people like, okay, who in your life is ELF, easy, lucrative, and fun, and who in your life is half, hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating? Because I used to apply ELF to marketing strategies that were robotic, that were automated, that worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, was a way to scale selling. But now I think of ELF as people in my life that are easy, lucrative, and fun versus people that are hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating. And one of my members is Chris Voss, the former top international FBI hostage negotiator, and he's taken my ELF versus half, and he's come up with high indicators of half, things that people would say in advance that would identify early on that they're going to be a pain in the ass. And if you don't pick up on some of these cues, you may actually think they're going to be great, right? So I look at the phone every day, and I get multiple messages. I mean, I sometimes will get over 100 to 200 text message interactions a day. Wow. Most people could not operate that way, but that's sort of my zone. I know how to, I connect the dots that way. I'm like one of those old school switchboard operators. As soon as it goes there, it goes there. So I manage my life, my company, addiction recovery stuff, everything mostly through audio, video, or quick messages. I don't like email. I don't like multiple different like WhatsApp and DMs. It's not my thing. But I'm pretty good with text, and I have this anxiousness if I don't respond back. So I have to be careful who has access to me and who doesn't. But you can tell just by looking at your phone, viscerally. How do you feel when you see a name come across? Do you go, woo? Or are you like, ah? So all humans want more woo and less ah.
Right.
And so if you're getting more ah when someone's coming through, I think about like, well, why is that? What does this person represent to me? Now, if someone you get a ah because you owe them money, it's not their fault. Pay them the damn money you owe them, right? Or at least negotiate or like be honest and say,
communicate at the very least.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Because you can, most problems that people have are communication problems,
You know what's funny? Like this principle, and I never thought, well, obviously that's what a principle is. It works everywhere all the time, right? I haven't thought about applying it to networking. We apply it in sales, and we teach people to apply it in sales because what's something that a salesperson is pretty much at a dead end with? Getting ghosted, right? Once you're calling and you're getting ghosted, you're 20 calls in, like you're done, it's over. And so what we teach to not get ghosted is never follow up with the, hey, just wanted to check in and see if you're ready to get after it. No, if they were, guess what they would have done? They would have called you.
Right.
Like they're not going to be like, okay, I'm ready now. Let's just wait for him to call.
Yeah.
No, they're going to call. They're going to email. They're going to do something. So we always teach reach out with value at always. So if you were, let's say, a prospect of one of my people, and let's say in the call that we first talked about, we learned that you were really struggling with finding key people on your team. Like that's just something you just feel like you don't really have a lot of ability in, and you don't know where to start. So when we follow up, it'd be, hey, Joe, I thought about our conversation and it reminded me of this one podcast episode that we did on finding really great people. I had to send it to you. I would have bugged me if I didn't get it out. Right. Send that. And then later on, follow up. Hey, just wanted to see if you liked that episode, because if so, I got a couple others and I have somebody I'd like you to meet. I think could be useful too.
Right.
And so always finding a way to reach out with value. You don't get ghosted when you reach out with value. You get ghosted when you reach out with what's in it for the salesperson.
No, you're exactly right. You just described a scenario of how to behave in a way that is leading with value and being a giver, not a taker. Because if you lead anything with taker energy, and a lot of people, takers hang out with other takers, givers hang out with other givers. And if you're a giver, the caveat, like the book, I actually wrote it so I could figure out what the hell have I done well in my life that worked really well, and where have I screwed up? Because I've had a lot of shit that hasn't worked. And there's been many people that I tried to help. So in the beginning of the book, I write about that book. This book wouldn't exist without How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. So if no one's read that book before, they should read that book. It's an amazing book, written years ago.
That's one I've gone back to quite a few times.
So good. All of Dale Carnegie's books are actually pretty good. How to Stop Worrying and Start Living is a great book.
I got to tell you, there's one thing with that. So most recently, actually it was about a year ago, now I think about it, but about a year ago, I had to reread it. That was the last time I reread it. And I was at the part where it talked about, the famous quote now, but I don't think a lot of people know it came from the book. The easiest way to be interesting is to be interested. Right. And so I bumped into this person that I've known for 20 plus years. I met her when I was a single guy in my early 20s, right? And coincidentally, she's the mom. She used to be my roommate. She's the mom of one of the kids that I was coaching, because her kid and my kid were on the same team.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, you're here? She's like, this is crazy. She's like, oh, we should go get coffee. I was like, yeah, it'd be awesome to catch up. So we go to the coffee shop right in the same complex as my church, and we meet up there. And I'm like, I just read this part in the book. So I said, I'm not going to talk about anything that I've done. I'm only going to ask her about her, what she's been doing, how she's been doing it. So I went on about an hour, right? So what have you been up to? Tell me about your husband. Tell me about your kids. How much time you spend with your kids? Tell me about your work. And just everything she answered, I kind of went back on. And the cool thing is, I was actually genuinely interested. It's funny, like you actually do get interested when that's your intention. I'm going to and you're like, wow, people are interesting. This is cool. By the end of the hour, she was like, I got to get going. Here, let me see if I can. And she extended 15 minutes so she can hang out more. After it was over, she texted me. She's like, hey, I just want to say thank you so much. That was one of the best conversations I've been in a long time.
Yeah.
And I go, that's amazing. She knew nothing about my life and what's been happening.
Yeah.
Nothing. But she had such a blast, because she probably never gets it. She's in one-upville, like we talked about, right?
Totally.
She says something, every friend goes, oh, me too. I got this. So with our salespeople, we actually teach, like, don't build rapport with like. So if I'm selling you and I've got 4 kids, let's say you also have 4 kids, and you go, yeah, I've got 4 kids. The average person's going to go, oh, I've got 4 kids too. Yeah. As opposed to, that's awesome. What are their ages? Or, let's say you're from New Jersey. I'm also from New Jersey, right? It's easy for me to be like, oh, I'm from Jersey. Oh, what brought you out here to Arizona? It's just so different.
Yeah.
Just keeping it about, because here's the deal. If you were from Oklahoma and I couldn't relate to that, I'm not going to lose a sale because of that.
Right.
If you had 4 kids and I only had 1 and I can't relate to that, I'm not going to lose a sale because of that. So everything you say in a sale is either getting you closer or further away. So don't waste any air. And so just keep it about them. But that book, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends, Influence People, was a big component of learning for that idea.
No, totally. Like when I, there's that Zig Ziglar quote, which is, you can have anything in life if you help enough other people get what they want. With the caveat, though, that you can help other people get what they want, that not only won't do a damn thing for you, they will steal from you, they will abuse you, they will take advantage. So what I wanted to do with What's in It for Them is I wanted to first figure out, like, how do I protect myself and how can I share things with others so that the givers of the world can put boundaries around them. Like when I went to this Dale Carnegie class in my 20s, they would have every week they would have a different theme based on one of the chapters. And so one of the chapters is don't criticize, condemn, and complain. And I thought, I actually like to criticize, condemn, and complain. I like to talk shit. I like to banter with my friends, but I don't do it in a cruel way.
Right.
Actually, I blow off steam by bitching about something. I'm not even saying this is a good strategy.
Jerry Seinfeld says his favorite thing to do is complain about things. That's his whole bit.
Well, I write about this in my book. The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman.
Yeah.
So years ago, I was talking to Gary. He said to me, he goes, if you want to know what someone's love language is, listen to what they complain about. And then later, I read a book called A Complaint is a Gift. And if you actually listen to customer complaints, if you listen to your husband, your wife, your kids' complaints, people are expressing pain. The first chapter of my book is about being a pain detective. Pain and helping to alleviate or eliminate it is what's going to help people the most. So I'm always looking for pain, but I also try to look at my own pain. And oftentimes I'll get excited about a project, then I'll get into it and realize, what the hell kind of swamp did I just jump into? Like, if you don't like a person, but there's a lot of money to be made, but you go into it with a person that's not a good person, karmically, you just screwed yourself.
Yeah.
You're going to regret it. And so part of it is I wanted to write a book for givers to better boundary themselves around takers. The point is, though, even if someone never reads the book, it's what's in it for them. I mean, that's the premise. And it's my methodology of how I develop relationships with people. And part of it is dealing with people at the level at which they respond, because some people respond if you're nice to them. Other people, you can be very nice, you can be very caring, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And you know enough about in business that you can bend over backwards to service some people and they still won't perceive that as valuable. And there's other people that'll come in, they'll make, $1 million, $2 million, whatever, with something they learn from you, and then they don't renew. They won't buy anything else. And it's always, why is that? And it's, it is what it is. Humans are humans. All I know, though, is that if I keep developing relationships with great people and always lead first with value, not having an entitlement attitude, always try to be helpful. I think it's the whole, you catch more bees with honey than vinegar. And so just try to be nice to people, try to be, and when I mean nice, I don't mean be a doormat. I mean, be courteous, be conscientious, don't take shit from people that are, takers. And once someone shows signs of being abusive or being a jerk, cut all ties with dishonest, negative, and lazy people. I mean, I think that's just kind of it'll work for everyone.
I want to get something out of your marketing brain, and you've gotten to spend time with so many great marketers, and specifically speaking about the promotion section of marketing, because you got the 4 Ps, right? And we spend a little bit of time on product, and I want to get to the promotion part. When you are helping somebody launch something, because you've been a part of quite a few launches, seeing people like launch a new business or launch a new product or new service or group. But what I want to know is because what you might do for one launch, you might not do for another launch, right? It's different things.
Totally, yeah.
So, but the thinking is the same. So how do you think through, like you're in the beginning stage, let's say I said, hey, I'm launching this new business. How do you think through deciding what you're going to do to really get the name out, or to really bring the right things in early, or whatever it is to really start moving forward in this business?
I think of it as who do I need to have on my Genius Network, because it's really hard to be a jack of all trades. And so Dean Jackson,
Yep.
who's my partner in the I Love Marketing podcast that we've been doing since 2010. So he invented the squeeze page early on. I mentioned him earlier. And so he has this great line, which is a compelling offer is 10 times more powerful than a convincing argument. So you don't want to convince people of what you have of your business. You want to compel them. So anything you put in front of somebody is marketing, whatever the offer is, whatever the message is, whatever it is that you're trying to do. And he also has a framework that we've talked about for years called before, during, and after. So people say, I want to build a business. I need to get customers or clients or patients. I need to generate leads. Well, that's the before unit. So the before unit is, what do you do to get people to become aware of you? How do people find out about what it is you do? Is it, social? Is it advertising? Is it word of mouth? What is the before unit? The during unit is after someone knows of you. They know you. Do they like you or trust you enough to do business? Not quite yet, but they're in the during unit. So if you are a real estate agent and someone lists, how do you get the listing? And then once you have the listing, that's the during unit. You're interacting. And the after unit is after you sold the house. So the after unit is after you have collected money, you deliver a world-class experience so the client is happy, and then they will do repeat business if you're in a business that has repeat business, or it'll orchestrate referrals. So instead of looking at the business as like the business and I need to make it work, do you need help in the before unit, the during unit, and the after unit? So both of us, based on kind of what we both do, we have all kinds of different things that you can do. For me, the starting point though, before the technique, because of all of the pain that often comes with the unknown, because, and I borrow a lot of this from my friend Dan Sullivan, and I've known Dan. I've been in Strategic Coach since 1997, and he's been in Genius Network since 2010, and we've been doing a podcast since 2012. So I spent a lot of time with Dan. We just finished recording a Audible original that's not out yet at the time me and you were sitting here with Hay House. And he talks about ambition, I talk about connection. So how do you bring connection together, and how do you inspire ambition? And so he has a line, who do you want to be a hero to? So if someone's starting a business, the first part of the before, during, and after unit is select a single target market. If you try to select everyone, that makes it way more difficult. So, and I think you do the same thing. When you sit down with someone, you try to get them to niche it down. Like, okay, I'm selling.
What would you say is your niche or Dave's
Well, I
niche?
started out as a carpet cleaner, going to the carpet cleaning industry, and then I'll come back to Genius Network and my niche. My niche is, ambitious entrepreneurs that make over $1 million a year, that have a good reputation, that are givers and preferably industry transformers. Someone who's the best in the world or one of the best in the world, have the ability to be that. Those are the people that are, Genius Network members. So for carpet cleaning, though, the carpet cleaning industry could not afford the talent of a Tony Robbins. Tony is not going to go, let me do Date with Destiny for CPAs. Let me go do, date with, he's not going to do that. So whenever you can, that whole line, the riches are in the niches, is actually true. It sounds like just a silly cliche, but it's actually true. The more selective you become, the better selection you have, because it's easier to acquire something that feels specifically for them. Because people wake up every day hoping they go the whole day and avoid a sales pitch and avoid a salesperson. They unless they have a problem and someone shows up with a solution. And so my favorite definition of selling came from Dan Sullivan when I asked him this years ago, and I wrote it down because I thought it was really interesting. Selling is getting someone intellectually engaged in a future result that's good for them, and getting them to emotionally commit to take action to achieve that result.
Hold on. Can you repeat that for me?
Yeah. Selling is getting someone intellectually engaged in a future result, getting them...
future result.
That's good for them.
Okay.
And then getting them to emotionally commit to take action to achieve that result.
Wow.
And so people could say, well, I'm going to get someone intellectually, emotionally engaged in drinking this alcohol, or watching this porn, or smoking this cigarette, or eating this crappy seed oil laden, burger. Well, it's not good for them. So the key words there are good for them because you can get someone intellectually and emotionally engaged in a future result that isn't going to help them. So the way that I look at the ethics of marketing is don't sell anything you wouldn't sell to your best friend, that you wouldn't sell to your mother, unless, of course, you don't like your mother. So the thing is like so for a business starting out, who do you want to be a hero to? What is and me and Dean have done numerous conversations about this. If you think I could only get paid if I create a result in advance, how would that change your business? If there was a law, you can no longer charge for this book. You can no longer charge for this water in advance. You can no longer charge for this podcast studio. The person had to get a result first that they were happy with, and then you get paid. It would completely change the way you look at your business.
I really like that.
Yeah. And so, people talk about be a thought leader. I mean, any idiot could come up with a thought. Many of the thought leaders just steal other people's thoughts. They don't even give them credit, and they try to pawn it off as their own. Be a result leader, not a thought leader.
I love the what if I couldn't charge until after they liked it and wanted to buy?
Yeah.
How would I change the service and the product and the experience?
Yeah, and start your business that way. You can still get paid up front, but if you operate that way, you will be more focused on what's in it for them, not what's in it for you. Mm-hmm. Like everyone buy my shit, buy my stuff. It's like, well, does your stuff work? Does it, does it give someone a high possibility of success? And, here's the thing. And I know like a lot of my marketing friends, and I believe me, I've interviewed close to 2,000 people. I've been doing this a long time. And I've met some of the best marketers in the world, and some of them are also the biggest con artists. And there's true connecting, and then there's connecting, where you act like you're connecting with someone, but you're actually conning them. And I believe all people that are in the world of marketing understand the con game. It just is, how do you treat people? You can understand the street game. You can be a black belt and know how to beat the shit out of everyone. It doesn't mean you go out and hurt people, right? So if you're going to develop these skills of persuasion, it took me 20 years to realize that people are adverse to sales and marketing because they've all had a very bad experience with someone. And when you say sales and marketing, you immediately get thrown into a preconceived notion of what that means. And so hype used ethically is massive enthusiasm for what you're selling. Hype used unethically is lying, misleading, bullshitting people. And so part of it is think of sales as influence. And think of marketing as storytelling. And if you become more influential, like read, Dr. Robert Cialdini's book, Influence, think of storytelling as enrollment. So if you tell a better story, you're going to enroll more people. And if you are more influential, you're going to close more. So if you think of every video that you do, because I know you sit down and knock out a bunch of stuff to teach people things, these little vignettes of how to sell, how to market, how to position yourself, all these different things. What you are doing is you're telling stories, you're utilizing influence, you're creating authority because you're the one delivering that stuff, and you're positioning yourself. So for a new company, how do you want to be positioned? How do you want to be thought of? Who do you want to be a hero to? Because in the real world, it's called failure. In the marketing world, it's called testing. And you have to test a lot of stuff in the beginning, and most of it is going to fail. It's just not going to work. And you will put your heart and soul into it, and you will really think you got a winner, and it's just going to flop.
And there's been other ways, the other way around, right? Where you're like, all right, we'll put it up, we'll test it, we'll see how it goes. And you're like, it did how good?
Right. And that's, hopefully that doesn't happen right from the get-go, because then you get spoiled. And then when the failure comes, you're just like, I had the Midas touch and I just lost it, right?
Yeah.
So no, it's actually, there's all these, I became Richard Branson's largest fundraiser years ago, and then I quit doing a lot of stuff because I don't like most nonprofits because they do more veneering than they actually do helping people and stuff. And so, but I say that because I was so much in this nonprofit world, right? Of giving back, give back. And it's like, I hate the word give back, because if I took your shoes, I should give them back. But if you've not taken anything, there's nothing to give back. If you are, I'm all for giving. I just don't like being guilted into giving back.
As if it was an exchange from those two parties.
Right.
Right.
Well, see, here's the reality. I mean, people like in social entrepreneurship, which is kind of like socialism, not always. I mean, let me give the context of the caveat. There are some nonprofits and people that devote their lives doing amazing stuff. I mean, there's hospice nurses. There are people that never get famous, that aren't all over Instagram, that don't have a bunch of followers, that are doing God's work and doing amazing stuff. So let me at least say that, because I'm not making blanket statements here. There's a lot of people that pretend they're doing good stuff, but they like a lot of social entrepreneurs dress up in entrepreneurs' clothes so they can get invited to the right dinner parties, and then they guilt good doers, the do-gooders guilt the good doers into giving them money because they themselves are incapable of doing it. So are you a producer or are you a parasite? So when you first start a business, what are you producing? What is the result? What is the pain that exists? Select a single target market. Even if you really care about a particular market, does the market have the interest or the ability to buy the solution, the product, the service? What is the emotion behind it? What are you going to say to message what it is that you're doing? And get that right, and make sure you're really into it. Because if you're not really into it, when things are rough, and they will be miserable. You won't even know all of the stuff that you're going to deal with. In order to build an ELF business, easy, lucrative, and fun, it's actually quite hard in the beginning. And if it isn't all that hard, then you're either very smart, or you had a really good upbringing, or you had really good mentors, or hopefully you just educated yourself. Because, like in the beginning, go work for someone that has an amazing company that's doing something you would like to do, and don't steal their ideas. Stay friends with them. Let them know, I have big ambitions here. How can we collaborate together? But I'll tell you, there's competitors and there's collaborators. And I really, in the last year, this has become more of a insight and awareness. Really competitive people don't collaborate. They just always want to be number one. Like, I had this really interesting interview I did with Lance Armstrong. Really great interview. I mean, I've gotten to know him a little bit. And in the interview, it's on YouTube if anyone wants to watch it. And he said, if I was doing this interview with you 5 years ago, I would be lying to you right now. Everything I would say would be a lie. And in his, you probably know Jeff Spencer, his doctor from way back, and he was on all the tours with him in Lance's heyday. And Lance, at one point, was the most well-known athlete in the world globally. Oh, yeah, I bet. And then he had the big fall, right? And he hurt people. And he said, yeah, I was a real asshole. I mean, I did, but in 11 years, he's done plant medicine journeys. He's done all kinds of stuff to change sort of things. And many people hate him, whatever, But when I did an interview, I said, we'll do an interview as long as I can ask you any question. He's like, yeah, it's fine. You can ask me anything you want. And his doctor at the time, when Lance was like, winning, he said Lance didn't just want people to win. I mean, not people. Lance didn't just want to, I said that wrong. Lance didn't just want to win. He wanted the other person to lose.
That's what Jordan said too. Michael Jordan said he wanted to completely demoralize people. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, in a state where, you're in war, great. If that makes you feel good. But in business, that shit doesn't work very well.
No, you don't get as far as you would in some other things.
Right. So be a collaborator. Don't just try to increase your slice of the pie. Try to increase the pie. Now, there's half the people listening to this may be competitors, and the other half may be collaborators. They will say, this guy, Joe Polish, is an idiot. I don't agree with that. I love to win. Winning's everything. Whatever. Other people are like, no, I actually, I decided early on in my 20s, I read a book called Winning Through Intimidation. One of my biggest regrets, because I had, numerous emails and a few phone calls with him over the years, was Robert Ringer. He wrote the book in the 70s, and I never did an interview with him, which I wish I would have done. And I had a conversation with Peter Drucker years ago, and I wish I would have flown I was asking him if we could do an interview, and he was hard of hearing, and he had to do it in person. He couldn't do it over the phone because he couldn't hear. And I never flew to California to do that interview, and he passed away. So I have these regrets of these great minds that have put so much of what we all do as business owners have been influenced by, people in the past. There's a whole standing on the shoulders of giants thing. And Robert Ringer wrote a book called Winning Through Intimidation, and it was a great book. And the title was shocking because it was a huge bestseller back in the 70s. And people thought it was a book to teach you how to intimidate other people. But what it was really about was your ability to not be intimidated has to do with how far you go and how successful you are, and that there's a lot of people in business and in life that are just going to try to intimidate you and get your money. And there are people that are just blunt. I'm here to do a deal. I want money. There's other people that he called them my three. I think he called it my undergraduate days at Screw You University. And the three professors, the first tell you they want your chips. They're going to do everything to take your chips, but they're at least, they tell you they're the most honest,
right?
Because no one does anything for nothing. The second group says they want you to have all the chips coming to you. They don't want to take your chips, and then they end up trying to take your chips. Right. They're unethical. The third say they want to see everything coming to you. You're going to get your chips, and while they're saying it, they genuinely believe it. But then once chips are on the table, money's involved, then due to their own blunderings or delusion, they try taking your chips. And he says he goes, this is not my opinion. This is my experience in the business world. That's how people are. The only exception to the rule is when you're in a business where the other person you only get chips because you help the other person get chips. And when I understood that concept, I said, I'm never going to go into a business where it requires someone to get hurt or to lose in order for me to make money. Yeah. And so I view business as solving problems for a profit. Marketing is one part of it, very important. But I don't know if you know Keith Cunningham. He wrote The Road Less Stupid.
I haven't met him, but I've read his book. Actually, I really like his other book, which has a crazy title. How to build a wildly successful, or the blueprint to build a wildly successful business, or something like that.
I'm trying to think of what. I can't think of it.
That's my favorite book of his. I don't think a lot of people know it because I think it's hard to recommend the book because the title is so long. I might have even gotten it wrong, but it's a great book. It's got blue lettering on it, and it's just really great at looking at the numbers of business and making decisions off of them in all the different departments. It was an incredible book.
Well, he's brilliant, and he's a friend, and he's Robert Kiyosaki told me years ago that there's two rich dads. One was this Hawaiian booze runner, and the other was Keith Cunningham. And Keith says as many businesses die from indigestion as they do starvation. So marketers are always thinking that whenever you're a hammer, everything's a nail. So it's like, your business, you need to make it work. Let's improve the marketing. Most of the time, the marketing sucks. Let's figure it out. Let's get the message. Let's look at a different niche. How do we message it? The other time is like it's not really the marketing. You don't want to fix the marketing. You want to look at the product. And I mean, you look at the difference between Apple and Tesla, two highly valuable companies. You don't see Elon Musk running ads. Most of Tesla's sales have been referrals. Well, like all.
Actually, this month he started. He just
advertising,
started, but for the longest time, I was sharing the same thing. He doesn't run ads. Yeah, Tesla Motors had ads out now.
No shit. Okay,
yeah, because it's for the rebate. Because they got a new rebate.
The $7,500 rebate. They probably perceive that as more of an announcement than an ad. But I'm curious to see if they end up start running ads as a result of that.
It was a sponsored ad.
Interesting.
But like you, I was something I admired because for I don't know, a decade or more, they've been in business crushing, and no ads running. It was pretty impressive. But he did marketing. He just didn't do paid ads.
That's my point. See, people are like, I don't do any marketing. What do you mean? Like, how do you have business? Is the money fairy just shitting clients out of the air? No, I mean, it's like they come from something. Right. So you're either doing a good job or there's word of mouth. You're doing some sort of marketing. Right. People sometimes think if they're not spending money on generating clients, they're not doing marketing. You're doing something. Yeah. And I always tell people, if you are getting referrals and you're getting business in spite of yourself and you don't even know why, imagine what would happen if you actually put a 5 or 10% more emphasis on even thinking through how is this happening and how can I create a system around this. Right. I mean, your business can explode that way.
Right. One of the coolest things I think he did in marketing that really made me think how could I wow people like that, like completely shock people. I don't know if you've seen, he did this when he was announcing, I think it was the Cybertruck. It was when it was his announcement, just like Steve Jobs did his keynotes. Elon has his keynotes, not as notorious for his keynotes as Steve was, but he had them, and he goes, we're going to go ahead and have the Cybertruck race the Porsche. Have you seen that?
No, but I've actually heard about it. I have to watch this now.
Coolest thing I've ever seen. Now,
it just smokes it. It has to, right?
Well, it does more than that. So what he does is he goes, here's the Porsche versus the Cybertruck, and he shows them, the noses of each at the starting line. And then boom, it goes, and you hear the music going, and they're racing. You see the Cybertruck going, and it passes him. But what you notice is it was pulling a Porsche, the same car it was racing.
Hysterical.
And the car that it was pulling actually crossed the line before the Porsche it was racing.
Oh my God.
And that video, that snippet from his presentation was cut up in so many reels.
Right.
So many people took that and made it a 1-minute reel to show it. Tell me that's not better than running a paid ad.
No, yeah. I mean, it's see, the beauty is demonstrating what it is your product or service does in that case.
It was a brand new 2025 911.
That is hysterical.
And it smoked it.
Wow.
While pulling it.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go look that up now because that's great.
But that's an example of just like, just taking something that no one would ever expect, seeing it, and just being like, how do you not? It's undeniable.
Yeah, I think demonstrations of what you do and how you do it is one of the best ways to sell what it is you're selling, as long as it either lives up or exceeds what they, how do you create a wow effect? How do you create a woo versus ah? Yeah. And if you're putting messaging out that's you need woos. Yeah. And you need people to be woo. They need to read. You can't bore people into buying, something David Ogilvy said. And the more you tell, the more you sell. I'm still a big believer in the old school direct response stuff. And what I worry about with AI, as an example, is that if people don't understand the psychology behind it, they will get the words right. They can say, mirror this as a world-class copywriter. Yeah. But it's like a parrot, though, that just says the words, but they have no understanding of what the words even mean. So I still believe more than ever, young people especially, with the tools that are available with AI and the stuff that can be created. I have to remind young people, in the 1970s, if someone wanted to run an ad in the newspaper, as an example, or a magazine, you're laying it out on a manual typewriter. And then you have to, you had to go through this whole process to even create the ad. And then if you had to make if you notice there's a typo, you had to use an X-Acto knife and whiteout in order to fix it. And today you can just speak into something and do in like literally 2 minutes what in the 70s would often take 10 hours. Yeah. That's great. That is wonderful. That's advancement. But I'll tell you, it's like that line from the 1800s. Whenever you invent a ship, you invent a shipwreck. Whenever you invent an airplane, you create a plane crash. And now with the AI, there's all these wonderful things that could be done. Yeah, it's great that we can fly. It's great that there's ships. It's great that we can do all kinds of stuff. But there's going to be a lot of people that don't learn the psychology of human behavior, which, like you said in the very beginning, is never going to change. And if you get that marketing is applied psychology, if you get that running a business is solving problems for a profit, if you understand wherever there's anxiety, there's opportunity, and if you look for where pain exists in other people's lives, and you become someone that genuinely wants to remove it and helps people remove the pain or alleviate it, that's where the opportunities are. And the world is complex. And the people that can bring simplicity to the complexity of other people's lives are the ones that are probably positioned to make the most money and actually, do the most good. And I will always have to emphasize that life is long and life is short. And be nice to the people you meet on the way up, because they're going to be the same people you meet on the way down. And as I've gotten older, you run into people that you ran into 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Yeah. I'm in my late 50s now. And it's funny because I've run into people in the last year that I've not seen in 30 years. And things change. People rise up and they go down, and everyone's always trying to, everyone, when I say everyone, the caveat is I hang out with a bunch of entrepreneurs. So they're a bunch of crazy.
Ambitious. And
super ambitious. And their drive can often, Doug Brackman, who wrote the book Driven, is one of my Genius Network members. And he has 2 PhDs. He's tormented by his own brain. Admittedly, he'll talk about that. But he also really knows, how the driven entrepreneur has this drive. And so, I have an addiction recovery foundation for my own recovery, because I've been a workaholic for most of my life, drug addiction, sex addiction, all these attempts of trying to soothe this internal turmoil. And if I would have gone back in time, most of the successful entrepreneurs that I know, not all, but most of the successful entrepreneurs that I know have really channeled some crazy adversity that they had in their life. And most people that are in business, what they're doing is actually trying to solve or sell a solution to a pain that they had in their own life. And if I would have looked back, I wish I would have gone into 12 steps much sooner and did the steps, not just attend 12 steps, but actually do the steps. I wish I would have looked at the compulsivity of workaholism early on, because I spent many years in absolute misery, even though I became, quite financially successful before the age of 30. It wasn't happy though. And so there's a lot of people that live in prisons with golden bars. And so all the stuff that I do today is about expanding connection. And, at the end of the day, I will not poo-poo money, because people that say money isn't important, try living without it.
Yeah.
Money's very, people say money can't buy happiness. Stupid. I buy happiness all the time. If I like first class flights, if I like good food and I can pay for it, if someone, if you think money can't buy happiness, you haven't given enough of it away, because if you have financial resources, so all that is fine and dandy, but you also can't let it be the master. It has to be a servant. And with business, business is tough. There's a lot of shit you're going to put up with. So surrounding yourself with people that will call you on your own crap if the ego gets too big, or if you just don't know what to do. There's this book written in the 90s, The Book of Survival by Anthony Greenback, and there's a quote in there, and I won't say this one exactly right, but I think about it all the time when I'm stuck, which is, in order to get through an impossible situation, you don't need the reflexes of a Grand Prix driver, the muscles of a Hercules, the mind of an Einstein. You simply need to know what to do. And when you're faced with an impossible situation, maybe there is no way out, but usually there is. And if you don't know the answer, someone does. And oftentimes, if you do nothing, it will come to you. But if you have to act immediately, then you resource yourself with the basic capabilities you have. And if you're tired and exhausted and you're in the fitness world, but how many times have you seen people in the fitness world that drink like fish, do a ton of drugs? They may genetically be, fit as appearance-wise, but internally there's turmoil. So it's not just the external, it's the internal. And, anyway, that's a bunch of just me having to spew philosophical things, but I do that because
I love that stuff. That's one of the things I like about you and some of the people I spend a lot of time with. Dave Berg's another guy I spend a lot of time with. I know you know Dave very well. He's in your group as well. Not only is there a lot of philosophy behind the content, the things that are being said, but Dave, and I'm sure he's done this to you as well, one thing I like about Dave and the people I surround myself with is I choose my friends by the ones that don't take my side, because that's how they take my side. Right. Meaning I'll tell Dave something like, yeah, man, this is going on, and he'll never sit in it with me. He'll never be like, yeah, that sucks when I get that too. He'll be like, what would their story be if they were here?
Right.
Right.
That's exactly like how he
that
is.
face.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of my friends are that I choose to stay close to. It's the ones that will like, listen, I can complain with you. I'm not interested in it, but I can just say like, what's the other side of this thing before you get all hopped up on what you're complaining about. What's the other side that we're not thinking about? Because it's easy to stay here. You're already here.
Totally.
Okay. What two last things? You got two things in front of you.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only reason I had this folder here is like one of the things I do, if someone gets knowledge. Here's my original consumer guide to carpet cleaning. This was done in 1992.
Wow.
This is a template. And I, as the first sales letter I ever had, I can do all this from memory. Consumer guide to carpet cleaning. Read this guide and discover 7 questions to ask a carpet cleaner before inviting him into your house, 6 costly misconceptions about carpet cleaning, crawling critters and crud, a guide to the slime, grime, and livestock that's seeping, creeping, and galloping through your carpet, how to avoid 4 carpet cleaning ripoffs. And I learned that education-based marketing is one of the best ways, because they will open that guide and it says, dear homeowner, choosing a carpet cleaner isn't easy. Why? Wow. Because you're bombarded with confusing claims, simply bad information, near worthless methods. How do you ever find a qualified, competent carpet cleaner? You start by reading this guide, and now here's the punchline. Now with this information, you can make an informed, intelligent decision. So what I just said, if everyone just took that clip and put it into ChatGPT or into Grok or into Perplexity and said, I need an educational guide for my industry, based on Joe Polish.
Using this framework.
Using that framework, it'll produce one for you. But then you have to actually put it in front of people. You have to use it. And I turn that into 24-hour free recorded messages. So that was my first consumer awareness guide. But the point is education-based marketing. Make your advertising and marketing so valuable that even if they don't buy from you, you taught them something. Always leave people better off as a result of interacting with you or your company than they were before they showed up and visited your website or your social media. So another way of saying just don't put shit in front of people. Put value in front of people. Secondly, like my book, anyone that's a book author. So I have riffs, like a musician has riffs. And riffs are, if I ever have to do an interview like I'm doing now, I didn't even look at this one because I've done a bazillion interviews, but like I highlight different things that I write about in each chapter, right? So it's like connecting versus connecting. I mentioned that. Half versus health. I mentioned that. I didn't talk about the $1 Million Racehorse. That's a really good one. Make sure that your give is greater than your want, equal to or greater than. We all want something. Everybody, no one would be listening to this right now if they didn't want to learn something, get entertained, whatever, but make sure that the give is greater than the want. But I call them riffs, and everyone that develops skills has things that they know. And I think everyone would be well served to have a riff list. And then this right here is the control tool audit. It's one of my Genius Network tools that started out when I was teaching carpet cleaners. And people are like, how do I generate business? Well, you can do free reports, consumer guides, free recorded messages, monthly newsletters. And it's like, make a list of all of the tools in your toolbox, because when you need a tool, you may forget that you could do this, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this. So whenever I'm thinking, okay, we want to generate more business, we want to fill up our Genius Network annual event, we want to sell whatever it is we're selling, this is a trigger to remind us of all the different things we can do. And so it's an audit of like, people are like, I don't know what to do. Well, you just don't know how to access what to do. Yeah. So that's that. And then finally,
Wait, really quick before you show that, because I love learning from people, and I also love learning that I might be doing some things right as well. This is my what did you call riffs?
This is riffs, and then this is a control
so here's
tool.
My riffs. I got for all different things. I don't have as many as you. I haven't been at the game as long. And then the other thing that I've got. Well, I don't have that on here. I have a resource list, we call it.
Yeah.
Not a toolkit. I like toolkit. I think it's more memorable. Resource list, and it's here's a list of all of our resources, and then there's a link for each one, so I can give it away. Be like, oh, just go to this.com, and then you can get it for free.
That's great. No, and I'll tell you, that's smart though, and the fact that you documented it allows you to recall it better. And the other thing too, go to Toastmasters. If anyone's, put yourself in front of a stage of people. I was definitely afraid of talking. I don't like it that much. Once I get, what I like though is the results. It's that Somerset Maugham thing. One of my friends is Stephen Pressfield, who wrote this amazing book called The War of Art. And, he's like, where Somerset Maugham would say, I don't like writing. I like having written. I don't like working out. I like having worked out, right? Some people like working out. Some people like writing. But the point is like, get yourself into the mode of communicating. And if you are afraid of public speaking, most people are, and most people won't do it. So you're either frozen stiff or you're moving scared. That's just how entrepreneurship and life will often work. And and so this is someone I actually think you should interview at some point. So this is Dr. Shariang. She's the top vaginal plastic surgeon in Arizona. And I figured, knowing you would enjoy this. And it's a book called Everything Men Know About Vaginas. And and it has stuff on Cherie here. But I think page 10 has the most valuable insights.
So this is, if anyone would like to see, so here's the book. It's Everything Men Know About Vaginas. It's incredible. So first page, there's nothing.
It's going to be translated into other languages and put on audio.
There's nothing. And actually, it doesn't matter what page you flip to. It tells the story of really what we know.
It's so good, and she uses that as
content's here.
No, the reason I wanted to give it to you is whenever you have all the guys come over here, or even women, doesn't matter, and just leave it there. Like,
can I have this?
Oh yeah, that's yours.
Oh, dude, I'm for sure going to be showing people.
Yeah, so it's like just. Oh, we got videos of everyone, Damon John, like all kind, like the funny. Rob Schneider, the actor, we had given him one of the books. He took it up on stage at the very first Maha event that was here actually in Scottsdale. Charlie Kirk, unfortunately passed, put on the very first Maha event. He literally took the book up on stage with him the whole time. It was funny.
Awesome.
But like that book is great. But here's the point behind it, though. I think it's funny, and I wanted to be amusing with that because I think it's hysterical. The idea originally came from my friend Cindy Cashman, who I've known for 30 years, and she did the marketing for a book called Everything Men Know About Women. And it's a different world today, though, but in the late 80s and early 90s, she became a multimillionaire with a blank book.
Wow.
And so there are people that will spend years writing a book, their life put so much effort into it, and they never sell anything. And then the person becomes a multimillionaire. And so I was like, let's do Everything Men Know About Vaginas, since Cherie's an integrative doc, and she is she's a vaginal plastic surgeon. She used to be a trauma surgeon, but now it's niched, no pun intended. Like that is all she does. She used to do breast cancer reconstruction and stuff, but that was very difficult, hard work. And so she just became very skilled in an area. But the point is, that is just something funny.
It's perfect.
In that book. She's not a marketer at all. She literally, she grew up in Malaysia. She doesn't have a promotional, we're kind of shameless self-promoters, whereas that's not her personality. But you create something like that, it always gets someone's attention.
I love how it's not 178 pages of nothing. You could have done with 90 or 100. Right. You're like, no, let's load this thing up with 180.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. She took that to the women's prison here in Arizona, and she uses it as a journal now where the women write the goals and they laugh. Because if you're in a painful situation, one of the best things to do is just find the humor in it if you can. And try to be present. And
Joe, thank you so much for being on. Always every time I get to sit with you, there's actually a few stories I always go back to our original podcast from years back. One of the ones was when you talked about how people were, upset about not having what they want, and then saying, okay, go ahead and take your eyeball out. And you have two things that you actually would want more than the $10 million. And then the quote that I use all the time, I know it wasn't yours, you gave credit to who you got it from, but it was the man with a what was it? The man with perfect health.
1,000 dreams.
Yeah, the man with perfect health has 1,000 wishes, and the man with poor health has only one. Right. I've used that quite a few times. Reference you. There were just so many little things that we had said, and I'm sure in this episode, same thing. I'm just gonna stick. That's why I got my notes here.
Cool.
But I appreciate you, man, and
you're welcome.
Everything you've done in your life and everything you shared here with us today. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, for everybody watching, everybody listening, thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.